Welcome to Eagles, Globes, and Anchors, the strategically minded podcast of the Marine Corps War College, covering the intersection of strategy, security, and warfare.
Welcome to Eagles, Globes, and Anchors, the strategically minded podcast of the Marine Corps War College. My guest today is Val Jackson, director of MCU's Krulak Center for Innovation and Creativity. Ms. Jackson has more than 24 years in federal service, principally as a U.S. Marine. Before coming to the Krulak Center in July, she was an arbitrator in Dallas. Her areas of expertise include conflict management and resolution, civil military operations, international relations, and strategic studies. She has led and commanded Marine units throughout her career and has spent time as an instructor at the Marine Corps Civil Military Operations School and as a senior editor and field historian for the Marine Corps History Division. Ms. Jackson, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Becky. I'm very privileged to be here with you.
Before we just start our discussion of the Krulak Center, can you tell us a little bit about your background working on innovation in the Marine Corps?
Thanks for the question. Yes, this is my first formal role as one charged with innovation, but I will say that for the last 10 years, I've been informally charged with this, and I've served in and out of civil affairs billets. We're responsible for a non-traditional military operational consideration, which is the civil environment. I've had to be very innovative and creative in both practice, dealing with host nation civilians, NGOs, interagency in Afghanistan, and also innovative in training when I was at my position at 2MAF and in the Civil Affairs Group, in training, preparing Marines for civil military operations across the conflict continuum in the civil domain. There's no playbook. There are no options that are written down. We just have to be creative because influencing the behavior of people is a tricky business. This has forced me to leverage the expertise of the people around me, our available resources, and with commander's intent, train and operate effectively. This culminated in my arrival at the Krulak Center. This is a non-traditional but extremely necessary entity that harnesses a variety of university experts into one organization that can introduce new concepts, thinking, opportunities, and experiences to benefit all Marine Corps University students.
I can see that connection with civil military affairs or civil military operations because a lot of it is you reading a situation, interpreting the needs of that situation, and responding. So you've got to have a repository of knowledge. You've got to be a subject matter expert, probably in a number of different fields. But you probably also spend a lot of your time improvising, identifying what a need is, and responding to that need in a particular context. Is that fair?
That's very fair. We are the people in the Marine Corps, and so we pride ourselves in knowing and understanding what other people might think or what their needs might be, and helping commanders anticipate that and then work those problem sets into operations ahead of time as much as possible. But sometimes you can't. You have to think on the fly. And just having a variety of experiences that you can leverage and ideas to pull from. And so being very varied in what you do and what you read and what you experience and just your interactions with people is extremely helpful.
So what was the driving force behind the Krulak Center for Innovation and Creativity?
The Krulak Center grew out of the university's QEP as an output, really an instrument through which the university would meet its requirements and operational imperatives to prepare students to be innovative leaders who are aware of and can tackle the wicked problems of today's operating environment.
So a QEP is Quality Enhancement Plan.
Right.
It's part of our civilian accreditation for our master's program. But the center spreads across the university, our enlisted students, our distant students.
Right. We try to touch, and we're very rapidly working towards touching everybody in the Marine Corps University enterprise, and also beyond. So not only just resident students here, but we also have non-resident touches. We have folks that we're reaching out at Naval Postgraduate School, Marine and naval students, and indeed multi-service students throughout the educational enterprise for DoD. So we see ourselves as an integrator, both inside the university, cutting through all the schools and collaborating with all the schools, but also for the university to the outside world, not only other Marine Corps institutions and organizations, but also inside the Department of Navy and DoD.
Awesome. Can you give an example of a topic where current approaches don't meet the operational need? And then a follow-up would be, how does the Krulak Center fit in that space? Right.
One of the things I love to highlight is our really deep dive into expeditionary energy, and really that's been done through Dr. Mike Baskin. He's brought together students in the various schools, and they're learning how to plan operations with expeditionary energy in mind. And so the normal student learning process here is really not touching expeditionary energy to the degree that we think that is probably necessary. So through Dr. Baskin's program, he's allowing students, they have the inclination to do so, to do this deep dive. This is a massive planning consideration, and it's really allowing the students to study, experience, and even propose new ideas to tackle this show-stopping subject matter. Dr. Mike Baskin, as I said, is our Expeditionary Energy Chair. He runs the Energy and Innovation Scholars Program, and he's even hosted the Deputy Commandant for Installations and Logistics recently. And the students were able to pitch their ideas for innovative logistics solutions directly to him. Our other chairs are going to have similar programs and do touch students and the variety of other institutions in similar ways. But that Energy and Innovation Scholars program is really our showcase program up until this point.
I know that the student we have involved with it really appreciates what he's doing in an extracurricular context, that he's learning a lot that he's not going to get from our regular program.
And I think it actually says a lot, too, that, I mean, there's no common time across all the schools. So one of the challenges in starting the program up was finding a time for the students to meet. And so regularly, Dr. Baskin has about 30 students that meet at 7 in the morning to discuss his program and the readings and work on their projects and things like that. And I think that says a lot for the drive of the individual student, but also the need and the desire for them to study something a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm. And to your point that you made a few minutes ago, this is both resident and distant students.
That's
and
right.
We've got students in the distance program
That's right.
who are part of the Energy Scholars as
Yes.
well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. So you've been in the Marine Corps for close to a quarter of a century. I've served as a civilian for about a decade now. Let's just say the Marine Corps embraces its hierarchical structure. How do you foster innovation within a hierarchy?
It's interesting. This is something that we've thought about quite a bit over in the Krulak Center, and it wasn't until one of our Marines, really, our operation officer, he ran into August Cole, who's one of the authors of the book Ghost Fleet. And August Cole told him, he said, Marines are great innovators in the field, but as soon as they're back in garrison, they're terrible. And so he told our operations officer, look, if you can create an environment where Marines feel like they're deployed or operational, then you'll spark some real innovation. He said, other than that, Marines feel, restricted to rules and regulations and programs and deadlines and schedules and everything else, and that really crimps and hampers innovation. And the other thing we can do as leaders, too, is create a tolerance for failure. And we can do that inside our PME institutions. We can do that inside our units, as long as safety is kept in mind and primary, of course. But we don't have a tolerance for failure in ourselves, and we don't tolerate it in our Marines or our sailors. And so if we can do that to the ability that we can, that's safe and operationally relevant, then I think we'll really start to see some innovation take root with our Marines.
How do we do that in the academic context? Because we have a set curriculum. Some of that is given to us. We have congressional requirements we teach to. We have joint requirements that we teach to. How do we build that deployed environment when students are not competing for grades, but they're earning grades, and there's a real sense of pride? Students want to do well on assignments, and taking a risky approach, a more innovative approach, could go spectacularly well, or it could fall pretty flat with a professor.
It could, and I think it's incumbent on the professor to really know the students. So not everybody is an auditory learner. Not everybody learns the same way. Not everyone has an innate sense of creativity. Maybe there's a latent sense that's there that you could awaken through an experience or something like that. But everybody's different. I mean, that's the point. And so in an academic sense, you might switch up the way you're teaching material or presenting it, or give hard and fast, deadlines to something. Have them write a short proposal to a problem that you create, just off the top of your head, or pre-planned, that makes sense for the whatever curriculum it is that you're teaching. But that you're mixing it up, and it's not just the Socratic method every single day, or it's not just PowerPoint every single day. That you're able to reach the students where they are, understanding that everyone's not the same and doesn't learn the same.
Mm-hmm. So for our students who are listening, what opportunities are there for them to connect with the Krulak Center, with the work y'all are doing?
Okay, so first I'd like to invite students to come by and see us. We're on the second floor of the Gray Research Center at the end of the Hall of Commandants. We have quite a large space where we have collaboration space and also for the chairs to have their individual offices, and we also have a private collaboration room. We are quite different, I think, you'll find, than the rest of the spaces at Marine Corps University. But we do host events from time to time. We have some classes that are taught there. We have speakers that come in. We're hosting what I hope to be a monthly war game there. And so not only can students come and leverage the expertise of the subject matter experts that we have there in our chairs, but also they can use it as a meeting space. They can use it as a private study space, a wargaming space, or just an area to meet and to toss around ideas they might have for the future of the Corps.
And if there are Marines who are outside of the university, how might they connect with you all?
Well, our website is up and running. We are expanding its functionality at this point, so it's very basic. So that's one way, through the website. Also just personal email at this point as well. We also hope to launch a YouTube channel in the very near future, and we're getting social on social media.
Excellent.
So all of those things are in the works.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what are you all planning going forward?
So going forward, like I said, we have a monthly war game, and the focus is a little bit different each month, and we try to hone in on different audiences as well. As getting back to my point earlier about trying to find common time for all the schools is difficult. So we're trying to pinpoint a couple of schools and say, okay, when's a good time for you to do such and such a war game? So that's what we have going on a monthly basis. Our next big event coming up is the Innovation Summit on March 27th. We're going to start the day with the ribbon cutting for the Krulak Center. And then we'll have a futurist panel, and we'll do a tech demo by Lincoln Lab. That hopefully will really spark some interest in folks to see how technology intersects with not future war, because it's a war that we're fighting right now, but what are the newest, latest, and greatest gadgets out there that might help us in our everyday fight. We are having some upgrades to the Krulak Center. We're getting these museum quality display cases built, so that's exciting for us. So our space is not yet finished. It's probably about 75% there, so that's exciting for us too. And we hope to we've partnered with Marine Corps Warfighting Lab to get some wargaming material, computers and monitors and special systems inside our private wargaming space, so that students can come and practice technologically taking on whatever the future challenge might be. So that's in the works as well. And then we just have seminars, speakers. We have our own chairs that are hosting faculty development events, that type of thing, inside the Krulak Center. So we have things that are happening on a weekly basis and a monthly basis, but our next big event is that Innovation Summit that we're really looking forward to showcasing what it is that we bring to the university and beyond.
If there are folks in the D.C. area who wanted to attend who aren't part of the university, aren't faculty or students, is that event going to be open to the public?
I believe it is. This is the first time that it's being launched in this capacity, but I don't think that would be a reason to turn anyone down from attending the Innovation Summit.
So here's what I would say. Hopefully the YouTube channel will be up by March, and hopefully social media will be up by March. So listeners, if you are interested in attending, hit up the Krulak Center on social media, see if it's going to be up, and if you can't physically come, because we do have space limits here at the university, maybe it'll be televised on YouTube and you could check it out that way, because it sounds like a great event for people to really see, not just to showcase what the university is doing, but to help make that connection between MCU and the innovations that are going on out in the fleet.
That's right, and this is across industry as well. We'll have that futurist panel, so we'll have some big brains that think about this all the time, and so it'll be a great connection point for the university.
Are there any books or videos, documentaries, any other professional development material that our students should know about?
Again, as we get our social media up and running, that would be one place. But also there are a great variety of books. And so I just encourage people just to read things that are outside their normal. You know, if you're a military professional and you've been reading, strict military history, which is fantastic, but I would just say, branch out a little bit. Read something unconventional, read business, read, tech books, magazines, whatever the case may be. I just finished reading Like War, which is a fantastic look at the weaponization of social media. I've just started 2 books, which is really uncharacteristic for me. Usually I'll read a book from start to finish, then start another book, but I picked up one over the Christmas break called Life After Google. And that talks about how, the age of Google is drawing to a close as people and organizations and governments are valuing security over communication. And so this whole idea of blockchaining and what that means to business and finance and to individual personal security, people are starting to realize that free doesn't always mean better. And Google is going to have to wrestle with that or fade into the distance. So that's great. So I would just say reading as much as possible, new and different material, and that's innovation focused, or even if it's innovative for you in that it's outside your comfort zone, and just exposing yourself to as much as you can that's outside of what quote unquote normal military PME would be.
If people wanted to learn more about fostering innovation in the military, where could they look?
One of the ways you could foster military innovation is to actually read what each other is writing. Students at Marine Corps University are really writing a lot on the topic of innovation. You have some canned assignments or future war papers that SAW is doing, things like that. But also in terms of contests that we're sponsoring at the Krulak Center. We've had one just recently that McCuff funded through the Lord Lecture Series where students looked at the MAGTF of the future. What would the MAGTF of the future look like, and what would the challenges be, and how are we as a Marine Corps going to fight what those challenges are. And so we got 25 student essays talking about the MAGTF of the future and what we would do and how we would fight it. And we're going to work to publish those. We're going to publish the Gazette is going to publish the top 3 award winners. And then we'll get the rest worked into some sort of volume for publication. At the very least, we're going to hang them on our website. And so just interacting with each other and really leveraging the opportunities that are out there to learn from each other, especially those with recent fleet experience. You can't put a price on that. In fact, we have people that are contacting us saying, hey, how do we get the Marines to weigh in on some of these new technologies or concepts that we're thinking of? That people look at the students at the university as a very rich resource for innovative thinking because they've just come from the field. So I'd say look around, look to each other, and have these discussions yourselves, because it's amazing what students are talking about.
And there are some fantastic opportunities to do that. We've got Strategy Bridge that was founded by a couple of military officers. I don't think they were Marines, but they're still lovely, wonderful people. And they actually do a writing contest every year. So if you're interested in writing for the Strategy Bridge contest, you'll see those solicitations coming out quickly. The Military Writers Guild is another fantastic opportunity for folks in uniform who have probably some interesting ideas they want to communicate, but maybe aren't as confident on the actual writing part. That's something I see a lot is we've got some incredible talent coming through our schools who are not always confident when it comes to putting their thoughts to paper. And so organizations like the Military Writers Guild or our Leadership Communication Skills Center here at the university, if you're a student enrolled in an MCU school, you can go to the LCSC for writing help, not just for a paper assignment, but for something you would like to have published in the Gazette or Strategy Bridge or somewhere else. And they're always happy to work with you on getting yourself published. I think that's a great recommendation, that there's a lot that's already out there on innovation, written by, I will say it because I am one, stodgy academics, but there's a ton of good work on innovation that our students are organically coming up with on their own, and sharing that is an important part of their professional development. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're our own best resource in this. We just have to get our ideas out there.
Ms. Jackson, thanks so much for coming on the show. To keep up with the good work of the Marine Corps War College, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at @McWarCollege. Special thanks to our intrepid producer, Lieutenant Colonel Jason Palma. I'm your host, Becky Johnson. Thank you for listening to Eagles, Globes, and Anchors, the strategically minded, innovative podcast of the Marine Corps War College.
This concludes the EGA podcast. Thank you for joining us. The views expressed in this podcast reflect those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of the United States Marine Corps or the Department of Defense. You can follow the Marine Corps War College on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at McWar College. And as always, our podcast music is Stuck in Traffic by Rivero. Have a great day.